Wow, definitely want that intro. Welcome everybody. So glad you could make it after the lunch. I was a bit early in the room and it's quite a large room and then was really empty. So I'm glad you all showed up. It's kind of a different talk than most talks because it's less technical, more human-centric, but I'm really happy that you're all interested in the human side of our profession, and hopefully there are some basketball fans here. Hopefully, yes, at least one. The Michael Jordan approach to software engineering is my talk. I want to make it a bit interactive. I have a few of these to give away. I didn't bring the original size because they didn't fit in my suitcase, and it was a bit heavy, so I had to do it with this. So there I have a few questions in there, and if you have the correct answer, I will try to throw it as good as I can, and hopefully that functions. And I'm really glad that I'm not in the room over there because it's a really long room and I cannot make the back row then. So welcome. Who am I? Erik Pronk. And my first question is for everybody here because there will be some music playing on the background when I do my intro, and if anybody knows what the music is, please raise your hand or scream it out, because it's a very, it should be quite for the basketball fans and the Michael Jordan fans and Chicago Bulls fans. It should be a familiar song, and if anybody knows it, just let me know. No, it's not Space Jam. No. It's a really old song because, it's like the 70s, I think. It's from the Parsons Project, title song of Chicago Bulls when they entered the arena. And I always found that a very cool music when I was growing up, and now I have the opportunity to do it on my own intro, so hey, it's a win-win situation, right? But who am I? This is also because I like beer, but I have a bachelor in food science. That depends very much on talking about software engineering, of course. But that's the side of me that I also like beer as well. I like to be in the center of technical problems and human interaction, so I like to be in the middle and translate very technical, difficult problems to the more people who don't have technical knowledge and explain those situations and challenges to them. So that's where I feel most at home. And last but not least, I like to run. But I'm a three-time marathon finisher, and I was very happy that this. Fun stuff and to talk about our profession. So that was nicely timed because the music is also gone. So Michael Jordan and software engineering. I think you don't see that too much on the slide, right? And what connects those two is me. Or else I wouldn't be talking about it because it all boils down to my childhood. And I have two pictures, and one of those is this one. Anybody recognize this particular shot? It has a name. I'm going to try to lose those balls. I don't want to take them back, right? It's called The Last Shot because it was actually the last shot Michael Jordan scored in his career for the Chicago Bulls, not his last shot because he came back after that. And this is Michael Jordan, of course, and then you got an AI-generated image of software engineering. Think of it what you like, but yeah, that's what it brought up. oh, I should be in the middle, but what connects those two is me, because during my childhood, which was in the late 80s, 90s, so that's my generation, the Chicago Bulls started playing, Michael Jordan started playing, and in the Netherlands, where I live, in a small city called Zoetermeer, they had new channels on the TV. One of those is also a sponsor, Sky Channel, but it's a very different generation now, and Super Channel. Besides World Wrestling Federation, which I also like, fake wrestling, they also aired the NBA. And the NBA, they showed, most of the time they showed matches of Chicago Bulls. At that time I didn't understand why, but when I looked at those matches and saw how exciting those were and how decisive those were, there are still some spots in the front if you want to sit. Three over there, one over there, one over there. I have the best view. So when they all had a very spectacular end, and there was one person in the middle of it trying to, not trying to, but deciding all those matches, and that was the number 23 of Chicago, which at the time that I started viewing it, I didn't know exactly who he was, but he was very impressive at that time. But that also made me wonder why. Why are always matches of Chicago Bulls aired and not other matches in the Netherlands? No, that's because they were all very spectacular. So I started diving into it a bit more, and that's also throughout my childhood, but also afterward, I started thinking about some of the things Michael Jordan said and how he approached the way he played sports. And then now I'm like returning to this side of the screen where you see software engineering represented. I'm working in this for like 25 years now, since the millennium, so there's kind of a connection with that. What I seen is that the way top athletes, so you have Michael Jordan as a top athlete, but you could also have it in Messi, for example, or in other sports, Ronaldo, Portugal, so nice one, sorry. The way they approach their sports is really mesmerizing for me, because they try to make that they put everything aside, they can focus on the result at hand, and that's really impressed it really impressed me, and I learned a lot from that, and started to think, okay, what are those things that I learned? And this is what brought the presentation together for me. And when I think of Michael Jordan and software engineering, this is what I imagine. That's Michael Jordan on the basketball court, writing probably vibe code on his MacBook, because I also have a MacBook, and there are a lot of baskets, but yeah, that's AI generated, so you don't have that much control over that. But that's how I imagine it would look like if Michael Jordan would be writing code and being awesome at our profession. So, but what were those lessons? That I'll get to that in a bit of later. But who out here does not know who Michael Jordan is? Besides that, he also has a shoe brand. But everybody knows Michael Jordan. Okay, that's good. It was 2 to 3 months ago. I was at a high school in Rotterdam, and I asked, "Does anybody know Michael Jordan?" Half didn't know, but they said, "Okay, that's a shoe brand, right?" But yeah, it is actually, and I'll come to that a bit later. But Michael Jeffrey Jordan, born on the 17th of February 1963. Anybody know where he was born? This is for a ball, right? There's got to be somebody who knows this. Not true. Yeah, true. That's true, but he wasn't born in North Carolina. That's why it's a trick question. No. It's more to the north. It's one of the... Anybody watching the NBA right now? There are still 4 teams competing. One of those is playing against Indiana. New York. Who said New York? Yeah. Ooh, difficult one. Oh, nice catch. No, he's born in New York, actually, and that's I didn't know that until I dive into the more historical part of Michael Jordan. He moved to North Carolina, yeah, absolutely, and that was in 1965. Yeah, 65. And played varsity high school basketball and baseball over there. Coming to that in a bit later on. And he was pretty good at his basketball. He was one of the best high school players out there. And in 1984 he got drafted for the NBA by Chicago. And that was, he was then already regarded as one of the best players that could be in the game. But it wasn't until 84, 7 years, 91, until he won his first NBA title. So I'll get to the why in this, why that took so long in a bit later on. But in 91, 92, 93, he won the first 3 championships of the NBA. Now that's called a three-peat. Then something terrible happened in his family situation. His father was murdered right after the playoffs, then when he won. And he and his father had a very special connection, and he played baseball with his father a lot in his childhood, and that's what it made him make a tribute to his father and play baseball for the Chicago White Sox in 94, and then in 95 he did a press release. Press release is for old people, it's a toot now or something like that. And he said only 2 words, I'm back. And at the end of mid-season 1995, he returned to lead the Chicago Bulls into the playoffs, but not to the final. That's a very important distinction. And then again in 96, 97, 98, they won 3 championships again. Now then it was, the team wasn't, able to get them together again, and he quit for 2 years, 3 years, and then he played 2 more years for the Washington Wizards to finish his career off and become one of the greatest players of all time. So that's Michael Jordan as an athlete. But I mentioned 1984, and I'm wearing Nike shoes, not the Jordan ones, sorry. They were too heavy for the luggage. But in 1984 there was a shoe brand, Nike, that didn't exist almost. That was, if you wore Nikes in 1984, you were insane, probably. That's the best word to put it. But Michael Jordan, and you see those on the right-hand side, that's a Jordan 1. If you have original Jordan 1s from that period, you're in luck. They're really valuable. But he made a great deal with Nike. He could get some millions. That was short-time money. But what he did, he negotiated a 5% of all Nike Jordan sales for infinite time. So that brings me back to his career. He made $95 million of salary from Chicago Bulls and Washington Wizards. In 2024 on Nike sales alone. Who wants to guess what his earnings, net earnings were? 350, but close enough. So 315 million, that's last year, the year 2023 it was 330 million, so it's still rising. And he hasn't to do anything for that. And it was a great deal. If you haven't seen the movie Air yet, which is a great movie, it doesn't feature Michael Jordan that much, it's more from a Nike perspective, but it's really cool to see it. So that's about Michael Jordan, the athlete, but also the businessman. Had a really, besides the Nike shoe deal, he also has a NASCAR team. He bought the Charlotte Hornets and sold at a very low price and sold them. So he's a very good businessman as well. And yeah, he's very successful at that. Brings me back to the Michael Jordan approach. So the way I want to do this, I have 7 lessons that I learned from Michael Jordan, looking at him and studying him and connecting the dots to what it does throughout the world of software engineering. And I want to go first, very briefly go through them, and then in more detail with some video footage, and try to connect what's happening on the field to what's happening on behind the keyboard. So that's the way I want to approach it. So the first lesson would be on the fundamentals. When you look at basketball, it's very easy. Fundamentals are dribbling, shooting, those are basic fundamentals, footwork. But if you look at our profession, it's not that difficult. We have the fundamentals in our languages, algorithms, databases. You need to have the fundamentals in order to be able to move on and to move on and be successful in your career. So those are the fundamentals. two-time press, yeah. Details are very important. The devil is in the details, and I have a few of those, shiny quotes. Those are very, very easy quotes, but the devil's in the details, and it's true. But when you're approaching a game and you're at the final whistle, you're approaching the final whistle, details matter. But also in the world of software engineering, details matter. Because if we overlook a specific requirement for a browser version or something like that, that can really hurt you and have a lot of effect throughout the rest of your project. So those are the details. Third one is teamwork. Teamwork is essential. Now, Michael Jordan has a nice quote, there's no I in team. So in order to succeed as a Chicago Bulls, for Michael Jordan to succeed with the Chicago Bulls, he needed to be aware that teamwork is crucial. Because, like I mentioned, in 1984, he joined the Chicago Bulls. In 1991, he won his first title. So there's 7 years, but it wasn't lack of talent for that. It was lack of knowing to work as a team. And in our profession, it's very clear. We all work in teams, and to work together is more. You be more successful, and you can achieve more great things as a team than as an individual. Practice and preparation, kind of open door, but in order to be good at something, you need to practice, but you also need to prepare. You need to prepare for that NBA final. You need to prepare for that final release to production. You need to practice rolling out your releases to production, or else you don't want to fail them at the wrong moment. So you can learn from that and take that into account. And that also comes down to the next, because success is not a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey, and that's true, because you will not succeed all the time. There will be setbacks in your career, in your personal life. Everywhere there will be setbacks, but you need to embrace those setbacks, but also learn from that and use that knowledge the next time around. The sixth one, if you stand still, it's the fastest way to move backwards, is a nice quote, but it's also true, because our profession is really evolving at a pace that is really fast, but also as an athlete, you need to improve your game to be outsmarted, because like Michael Jordan, but Ronaldo and Messi also, they need to be aware that people would focus on them and try to mimic their game and to stop them. And in order, if you don't improve yourself, you will be left standing, and you will not be successful anymore. So in order to do that, you need to improve and continuously improve and innovate. The last lesson for me is to inspire and lead by example. And anybody can be a leader. It's not just the project manager or who else out there. You can inspire everybody within your team as an individual, and be and lead by example, being the guy who coaches within the team, and helping people rise with their problems, and helping people rise to the next level. So those are the 7 lessons. Very quickly, once more. Quick. So what I'm going to do here, you're going to see 7 clips of a basketball match. And what you see in the bottom of most of them is a number. The number represents the position that they're in the Jordan most memorable moments on YouTube, top 60. If you want to see them all, it's great to look at them all. And what I want to do here is emphasize what the situation means to the specific lesson. So the fundamentals here, if you look at this one, 4.4 seconds on the shot clock. The ball is, I think it's for you, it's better to see than for me, but it's on the other side. And it's a match between the Phoenix Suns and then I need to look at this a bit. It's 84-82 to the 84, let me see, NBA final match, first match 1997, and it's 82-84 for the Phoenix Suns, and this one would be the if he scores, it would be the deciding shot, and if he doesn't score, it will not be decided. It will hurt. But look what Michael Jordan does and how he approaches this, and that's the key to this are the fundamentals. So. Especially pay attention to the shot clock, and I accidentally said that it was 84-82. This was the shot that made it 84-82. It was 82-82 at the time. So this is the shot winning in the first game of the NBA Finals. And it's not a difficult shot if you look at it from his perspective. He had much more difficult shot, but the way he approaches, he focuses on his dribbling, on his foot work, and he moved towards the basket and make the shot look easy, but looking at the circumstances, it wasn't easy. And that brings us back to our profession.
He also did something else. He deliberately kept the ball for it to be the last shot, so they would get the possession.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As well, it's smart thinking, and there was 4.4 seconds. That is not a lot for that situation to progress successfully, and if you minimize the time that the opponent has to bounce back, that's very, very, very good quality as well. Yeah, he did that a lot as well. Yeah, it's true. After each movie, I found a fitting quote. If you look on Google, say Michael Jordan quotes, you get like a gazillion of them. I try to fit the best. Because I think this one is very suitable for this lesson. If you start shooting it the wrong way, then you get very good at missing shots. And if you start programming in a language with the wrong mindset and with the wrong fundamental knowledge, then you get very good at creating a crappy application. And that's not the case. You need to be aware of the fundamentals and the inner workings of a framework. I'm from we're in a Java conference, so I like Spring Framework, but if you don't know exactly what dependency injection means under the hood, then something can go wrong and you don't have a clue where to look. And if your fundamentals are at a level that you can understand that, then you know where to look and you can solve those problems. So basic understanding of these fundamentals, either is it in algorithm, is it in database knowledge, but also programming languages, you need to have that at a certain language knowledge to a certain level to be aware and to handle each situation accordingly. Going back to the second one, so the attention to detail. So the ball's over here, Michael Jordan is on the other side of the court. So what we're going to see here is a situation that changes at the last moment. Then details matter. At the last moment, you need to address the situation differently. This is what this situation shows, but it's also in our profession. If you get faced with some surprises at the very end of your project, you need to act accordingly. You need to be agile enough to take that into account and go to the next phase and be successful. So let's look at this one. So number 7. So what looks to be like a very straightforward shot was different because the number 22 thought, okay, I can jump. And of course, you need to be, not everybody can do that, right? It's not that if you have attention to detail that you can do this, right? You need to have the physical capabilities to do that. You need to have the mindset, but also have the training and the knowledge at that specific time, because it's also a very short time frame that you need to make those decisions. That helps, of course, from his perspective. But the way that he approached that situation, he knew that anything could happen at that time. So he was paying attention and, okay, there's somebody in front of me. What can I do? Okay, go around it. So details matter. I know at least one person out here is going to say yes. Who is a game developer? Oh, just Alex. Now, game development is it's a nice it's a nice profession, but it has some other challenges than software development. It's a lot of similarities, but when you're a game developer, we all want our games to run smoothly. We all want our games not to lag in performance. And in order to do that, each game has a total amount of memory that it can use. So take that into account, and then you, of course, within the game, you have specific modules, let's call it modules, that can all take in a specific amount of memory to get to the total sum of memory. So when boiling down to one individual developer, you can approach a certain challenge. For example, creating an inventory list. You can approach it in a different way because you need a list. You can take a list, you can take a vector, you can take a map, hash map, and so on. But they all have different memory consumptions. And if you're not aware that each line of code that you write has a different memory consumption, then you're just not aware of the memory challenge that you have as a game developer. So it's very crucial for game developers to work with a memory budget. So you cannot get above it because it will not compile, you will not be able to commit it. So you need to be aware of those details and be aware that those details matter. You have a lot of constructs to get to the same result and have a different approach to get that result. I said, for example, list, but also you have a lot of ways to approach your code in a different way that is less memory heavy. So the details matter. I'm not going to read every quote, right? Teamwork, one of those. 10 minutes? Oh, sorry. Of course, basketball is a sport that requires a team, so teamwork is essential to work. But in order to let teamwork be successful, everybody within the team needs to be aware which decision to take at a specific moment in the game. So let me quickly get all the stats right, because this is the game 6 in the 1993 finals, where Chicago is leading 3-2. So when you win a final, you win it 4. If you reach 4 games, then you're the winner. The score is 96 Chicago, 98 Phoenix, again the Phoenix Suns. And there are 30 seconds to play. I don't think this is from the same, because you don't have the number. But see what happens. For such an important shot at such a crucial moment in the series, everybody would expect Michael Jordan to take that shot. So this is what it happens, and of course he gets the shot. Oh, that's good. But essentially John Paxton gets the ball, and that was something that, let me get, where's the $1 million shot? That this guy, Dan Marley, did not imagine would happen. And I think nobody in the audience would ever thought that somebody else at that point in the match would take that shot. But what Michael Jordan learned throughout his career is to make choices, because everybody's focused at Michael Jordan at the point of the match. But if you do something different, and you saw that the entire team was involved in that play. First, Michael Jordan got the ball from Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, back to John Paxton. Only one person in the team did not get that ball. I don't know who that was, but he was switching the attention to the other side of the court, so he could be open, and he making that 3-point shot and the game shot winner when there were only 2.5 seconds to play, which didn't have any score. So they won that championships on that deciding moment, and teamwork made it happen. Teamwork is essential. So in our line of work, and I want to have a nice example for this. So who knows CrowdStrike? Yeah. Where do you know it from? Just 2 answers. From issues at work.
Running a command and then it gets blocked and security comes and wants to work with me.
And last year in July, did you know CrowdStrike? Yeah, Microsoft. Yeah. CrowdStrike, and I'm not here to bash CrowdStrike because I think what they did could happen to any of us out there. Let me explain the situation. CrowdStrike had pushed a Windows update to 8.5 million computers out there. And it was a very simple update because they had configuration parameters, and those configuration parameters could consist of 6, 7, 8 parameters. But what they did in that specific update was make it mandatory to have 8 parameters. What they didn't do was test systems that have 6, 7 of those parameters. And all those systems were just waiting for the final piece of the configuration to come and stuck in a loop. So that was CrowdStrike. But they fixed it really well. They had, within moments, they had a fix available. Of course, it had some, due to the nature of the problem, it had some time for the organizations to get back on their feet again. But they eventually did, and of course it was not the best way to ship software to production, but they learned from that and they worked together as a team to solve it as quickly as they could. And they made every customer, they helped every customer. Each customer solved this within 1 day, 1 to 2 days max, which of course is still a long time, but nevertheless they work together with the customers. Only one customer, and I want to shine two sides of the coin of teamwork, because I really thought that the teamwork within CrowdStrike was brilliant to get everybody focused and creating a solution that quickly. Delta Airlines was the only company that was left out there to didn't get their flights in order, didn't know where the passengers were, so they didn't overcome the outage that they had of CrowdStrike. It took them over 3 months to do that, making them like, what was 800 million in losses for that specific problem. And I don't think it's fair that they blame CrowdStrike for that. And the reason that I'm telling this is because last week there was a ruling in the court of Louisiana or Georgia, I'm not sure, that they can go ahead with their suing of CrowdStrike, but the chances are that the judge say that they didn't have that much chance to succeed, because all the other companies were able to fix it within a fraction of the time that they fixed it, and they weren't able to. So they couldn't get a team together to make an inventory of which systems were affected and which systems they needed to be cleaned again and needed to have an update, and how to do that. They were not able to get a team together to do that. So then you have, from one situation, you see teamwork at 2 different levels, because that's why I use this example, because you can see that teamwork is essential for persons to succeed, but also it can help you. It doesn't help if it doesn't work. It's really it really doesn't. It has a lot of negative effect if you cannot work as a team. So those are the third lesson: practice and preparation. I looked on the internet like a lot to find the right footage for each lesson, and I found a lot of footage on the practice field of Michael Jordan, but that wasn't exactly what I wanted to show each and every one, because those are just practice shots, and then you see, okay, he's practicing a lot, but everybody knows that he's practicing a lot. The reason why I found this scene is that when you look at Michael Jordan, who will steal the ball from another guy, from Shaquille O'Neal, and when you look at his face, in that moment he forgets that he's playing a match. He's on the practice field. He's just enjoying himself. Say, okay, I'm getting the ball, and this is my practice face on. Put it like that. So let's watch this one. So missed shot. Yeah, that's Shaquille O'Neal. The funny thing is, if you look at practice sessions for Michael Jordan and on practice board, you see this exact situation many times. And that is something that Michael Jordan did a lot. He was never surprised during a match because each and every situation out there he practiced. He was also really, he was into practicing. So he played. Oh, that's a nice one because I have this one. Practice like you never won, play like you never lost. So that's a mindset. So in each practice session, he wanted to get the most out of it. He wanted to get better. He wanted to get new situations out there. He wanted to learn from previous matches. And from those matches, he took situations and said, okay, I was not great at this one. How do I overcome that? And practice made him overcome that. Also, preparing for a match. Does anybody know how many NBA finals Michael Jordan lost? 0. We have one left. Can I, Oh, it was the catch, it wasn't the throw. No, he never lost any final. And that's, you have a lot of, on the social media, you have a lot of comparison between Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. But that is one statistic that nobody ever has beaten, and I think nobody will ever beat. Each final that he played he won. And that has something to do with his mindset. Not wanted to lose, and prepare for each and every situation. Brings us back to our profession. Practice makes perfect. That's a nice one. But you need to practice your coding skills. You need to practice each and every deployment that you're going to make. You need to practice in getting the right architecture and the right decomposition of your applications. So all those things are things that you need to practice. And when I started my career, I started in Java. It was a decision that I could make in 2000. They said, okay, you either can do COBOL or can do Java. And COBOL was a real thing then. So I said, let's do something new, Java. So that's 25 years ago, so Java isn't new again. So, but during those years, from a mentor of mine, I learned, okay, you can be very good at Java, but look at other languages. If you look at other languages, you see the strength of a specific language. You dive into that strength, and you see the difference between your preferred language. If you look at Kotlin, for example, you see another way to approach situations from a more functional perspective. And if you use that knowledge, also from Scala perspective, and if you use this knowledge in your day-to-day programming within Java, you can also achieve those things within your own language of preference. So practicing in another language makes you better in your own language. And also preparing, if you prepare for each and every situation out there, looking for the way to go to production, if you prepare for a rollback, not a rollback, but a roll forward, if you prepare that something could go wrong, but you can act accordingly, then you are very likely to succeed more than if you don't prepare for that. You just cannot go to production and say, okay, eventually it will go well. Now you need to be prepared and need to be aware of all those situations that you can encounter. And from that situations, you need to act accordingly. So practice and preparations. Challenges. Now, like I said, in the first 7 years of his career, Michael Jordan didn't won any championships, and that's because people already knew that he was good, but they also made games plays that targeted Michael Jordan specifically. This is, you can see from the letters, it's Detroit, the Detroit Pistons. They're kind of the bad boys within the NBA around that period. They created plays that were focused on Michael Jordan. So they wanted to eliminate him either physically or mentally during a match, and they were totally focused on it, and they succeeded in that. And those were the reasons that he didn't win championships during the first 7 years, because they outsmarted him, and he didn't learn from that. But he embraced that, and he did. And in this specific scene, you see two situations occurring. The first situation is where he fails, and in the same match, he collects his thought and says, okay, I need to approach it differently, and then it does work. So you see that he learns within the same match. So, let's take shot. He's actually, if you do that now in the NBA, you probably get fouled, but during the 90s, this was regular play. And the shot got missed. And what you see over here is that he uses his own body to encounter that situation and to be more successful and to succeed. So he learned from those things, and he embraced the challenges and the setbacks, and he became better at it. So that brings me to this one. You should do, in our profession, somebody might say you can't do that because there are too many risks. I think if that's the case, then you should do it, because the longer you postpone that, the risk don't get any smaller. Your risk diminishes when you go to production more often. And Josh had a nice presentation, which he's very capable of talking very fast. But he also mentioned that the only place to go is production, because that's the happy place, as he calls it. But in order to get there, you need to do it as often as possible, so the delta between what you're doing and the situation that's running on production is as small as possible. So you have the span of control where it can go wrong get less. So if that's a challenge, embrace it. Try to close that gap and be as often as possible go to production. So that's something that we as software engineers can learn from. 10 minutes, thanks. I'm good on time, that's good. Consciously improve. What you see over here, you have the big guy over there in the middle, he's Mutombo. He's a big African guy, and he was very outspoken, very good basketball player, and everybody respected him. But when you're in a basketball match, you cannot dunk over somebody. That's kind of humiliating if that happens. And he constantly said to everybody, nobody does that. Nobody dunks a ball over me and scores. Either I push him away or I block it. You don't dunk over me. So Michael Jordan heard that, and of course he was not very happy, and he saw that as a challenge. So he knew, okay, I want to improve, and this is what happened in that specific match. Yeah, of course, it would be strange if he didn't score, and the way he did with the finger is something that Mutombo did when he blocked the ball or pushed somebody away and he didn't score. And he wanted him to know, okay, I know what you're doing, and I practiced for that situation, and I encountered, and I found a way to go around it and be successful, and he did. So constantly improve. In our line of work, it's very easy to improve, because there is so much out there that you can improve, but in order to do it at a good pace, you need to also balance it, because something that's sometimes overseen is the mental aspect. You can learn incredibly much. You can each session here you can visit or look back at it, and you can try to overcome all the deficits in your knowledge. But you also need to rest your mind. Holly had it during her talk. With the sleep, it's important also for yourself to do it in the right balance. So you should constantly improve, but also should do it in a healthy manner. And constantly improve, the way that we do it at our company is create a tech radar for that, for things that are that are interesting for us, things that we put into assess and to in trial, and things that we most definitely will use into production, that will be in adopt, and things that we don't want to do, we put it in hold and try to forget it. And you can do that as an individual, as a company, or as an organization. So that's something that I always look at. The last lesson, inspire, and you see 21.7 seconds, so that's the largest frame. It's also number 1. This is the last match for Chicago Bulls, and I do need to. It's a 3-2 lead in games, so if this one is successful, they win the game. It's 86 to the Utah Jazz and 85 to Chicago, and there are 21 seconds left. And what you're going to see is also the slide that was on my the shot that was on my earlier slides. So Michael Jordan gets the ball over here. And like you mentioned, he knows the shot clock and the time, so 85, 86. Waiting on the shot clock. See, okay. And this is the only time you ever see Michael Jordan. He wasn't an overacting kind of guy. He was always winning, and he didn't want to he want everybody to know that he won, but he wasn't overacting. But this was the only thing that he did with the hand sticking out longer than necessary, 5 minutes, yeah. And everything comes together in this one because we saw the teamwork part where he used the team to get to the success, but he analyzed this situation in a way that, okay, what would be the best approach for this specific situation? Should I pass it, or is everybody open? Okay, it was his responsibility, so he took his responsibility, and he was inspired the team by setting out that play. And in the end, he decided, okay, I can go by myself, and this is the result. This is what he did. So the best quote of them all is, nothing of value comes without being earned. Because I don't know who saw The Last Dance, the documentary on Netflix, but when you hear the teammates of Michael Jordan talking, he was relentless in practice. He was not somebody's friend. He could be, and we talked about swearing, but he could swear a lot. But he wanted the best for each and everybody within his team. But also, he never asked something of anybody that he didn't do himself, or twice the effort that he put into it. And doing that gives you a lot of value. And that's also something that I have in my work. I try to earn the respect of my colleagues around them, motivate them, and give them the earnings that they need, and give them the respect that they earn. So that is what inspired me. That's how Michael Jordan inspired me as well. So moving to the last slide. So the Michael Jordan approach isn't about dunking a basketball, isn't about shooting a basketball, isn't about dribbling, it's about being the best version of yourself and acting accordingly and taking everybody that you work with into account and making the best of the situation and pushing each other to the limits, but in a healthy way. That's a Michael Jordan approach. So that being said, I think I'm good on time. Okay. Questions? Any questions? No questions? I have no more balls, so. Then I thank you all for attending this. Oh, there's a question, sorry. There's a mic coming your way, so everybody can hear you.
I just want to, he's a personality, okay? He was someone with lots of charisma,
yeah.
And at the same time he was also a huge sportsman. But is a lot of how you are able to create the right scenario that surrounds you. And
yeah.
You mentioned about that when the first years, okay, probably they were having very good players, but they were not able to create the right movement.
Yeah, the chemistry, yeah.
And I think that is probably the what makes all the difference in any team. Everyone might think about that him he was an awesome player, of course. Okay, but if him by himself, just alone, it would not be nothing doing. And I'm just, it's not a question. It was more like some kind of a statement, or that this is the important thing that comes out from.
You're more than correct, because also the coach, because in our line of work we also have coaches around us. And Michael Jordan, without Phil Jackson, wouldn't be that successful. If you ever read in the opportunity to read the book 7 Rings, it's a very, very inspiring book, because Phil Jackson created that environment around Michael Jordan to be successful. Everybody has blind spots. You cannot all see your weaknesses. You have somebody that coaches you to point you. Okay, you need some crazy person like Dennis Rodman in your team to do the things that you will not be able to do, bite somebody or something like that. But it has a function, and the coach helps identify those blank spots, and that's why he indeed became successful, because on his own he might not have seen all those situations, but he was open for coaching. He was very coachable, and that somebody who has that large an ego, being coachable is really good.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, I was one of the things that normally happens with this kind of players. Normally, their ego is quite huge.
Yeah, the ego is quite huge.
And the trick is about how he's able to be manageable with the surrounds, and probably that was the ecosystem that allows him to shine. Okay, on the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good session.
Oh, thank you very much.